Hi guys, it's me George, and today I wanted to do a book review, and it's a book review on a book that isn't recently published. It is a book that is well over a decade old. Whew. Kind of scares me when I say that because this book had a large influence, a presiding influence over my personal practice when I was younger. And this book was published in 2011, so it's over 13 years old. And it was the other day, I say the other day, about a couple of months ago, I just took this mind in to reread this book, and I was like, oh my God, I loved that book. I fucking loved that book. Like, I need to reread that book. And I bought it. And the book that I'm going to do a review on, but not only a review, a kind of comparison to where I am now compared to where I was, is a grimoire for modern cunning folk by the late Peter Paddon. Um, and I love this book. Like, this book will forever hold, it will forever hold a piece of my heart. Because this book is just so good. And I love how much I am still in love with this book. Right off the cuff, I want to say that, to my knowledge, don't shoot me down, but to my knowledge, I think that this book is one of the very few books that talks about energy work but applies it within a traditional craft praxis. I think there's only two books that I have ever known to do that. A lot of traditional witchcraft books are very much, here is older folk magic, here is what used to happen, blah, blah, blah. But whenever I meet traditional witches, they always talk about energy work and things like that. And I think that that needs to be mentioned a lot more, actually, because I work very much with energy myself, and every traditional witch or folk witch that I've met with talks about the same thing. And this book is one of the very few books, to my knowledge, that talks about this, that includes energy work within it and applies it within a traditional craft method and praxis. And not even in the sense of explaining it, just within the methods, just within the practices. And the artwork is just, it's so simple. And this book, I think this is what is so beautiful about this book. This book is so simplistic, but it's so effective, it's so powerful, and it made me realize just how much I really enjoyed this book. I think revisiting a body of work that was very influential on your practice back in the day, and then doing the rituals and the rites from that book now where you are at, is a really good exercise and a very cool experiment to do, because it's made me realize just how far I've come. And I think that that is such a good thing to do. So if there are any witches out there that want to do that, very cool project, very cool experiment. And just really awesome, and very wholesome, because it feels like you're revisiting a former part of yourself, and it's just all the feels. I love it. But yeah, I really enjoyed the artwork in it. It's very simplistic. I think that if there is any kind of younger witches in this day and age that haven't read this book, please buy this book. Please read this book. It's awesome. It's on Amazon for like £7, I think, but it's such a good book. I have done the style of rituals from this book recently. So I have done one of them indoors and one of them outside, both with family and friends. By family, I mean my cousin. I don't mean like, my mum and blah, blah, blah. Although my mum has joined in rituals with me, so I'm sure she would. But, it's one of these things that redoing and revisiting the rituals when you are older is it's so much fun. It's so good. And I think it's such a good exercise. I really do. But both of them, the indoor one and the outdoor one, were both very simplistic, but very effective, extremely effective. And the indoor one was lovely. It was so lovely, but the outdoor one, it was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous. it was just such a beautiful ritual. It was such a beautiful rite. The energies were so good and it was so wholesome and it was really powerful. And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy about Peter Paddon's kind of methods and the ways in which he works. It's really effective, but just so powerful. I really enjoyed that. Um, it's funny as well to now to kind of, back in the day, 2011, I was like 23, I think. I would look at the exercises herein, and I would be like, oh my God, that's really cool. Like, I love that, and blah, blah, blah. And I still do that now, but only now I read the exercises and I'm like, I know where that's come from. And that's really cool. It's really cool to be like, I know where that's from. That's from this tradition of traditional witchcraft. That's from that tradition of traditional witchcraft. This is from this. Like, and it's so cool to be able to do that now, as of compared to when I was younger. And it's made me realize in terms of, since carrying on with my practice, but not only in practice, but like research, how much I've kind of come to learn and how much I've grown and developed. And that's a really cool feeling. And I love that. I absolutely love that. It's really cool. But yeah, it's so good. It's such a good book. And that's probably all I'm going to say in this video. Over and over again. Such a good book. But it is. And Peter Paddon was a really good. He had the where was it? The Crooked Path podcast, I believe he done. I think some of his things may still be on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. But I really enjoyed. I just really enjoyed it. It's funny as well. Like, there are still some things. Like, I love the pictures of the altar and things like that. It's really cool. It's funny as well because there are still some things that I'm just like, nah, I'm not really cool with that. Because don't get me wrong, like, not everything in this book, I'm like, yes, I'm on board with all of it. I'm not. There are some things he talks about that I'm like, no. And it's interesting to see certain things where my perspective may have changed. And that's really cool. So I would definitely urge anybody to go and revisit a body of work that has been highly influential upon them in their practice. But there are certain things in here that I don't agree with, like the idea of, and it was really popular in like 2010, that the idea of patron and matron deities. And you have to have like a matron and you have to have a patron. You have to have two. And I can't get behind that. That's not anyone that's kind of seen, especially my video regarding Beltane, the idea of polarity within the sort of heteronormative kind of male-female thing. That's not my world. That's never been my world. And I've never ever got that. So there are certain things in it I'm like, nah, it's not really my bag of tits. But I still can respect it, that definitely was his thing. Do you know what I mean? And that worked really well for him and his coven. But it was really interesting, and it was really cool. It was funny working a tradition that was based off Welsh kind of folklore and Welsh practices that had come from America in Scotland. And there was definitely our own kind of spin on it. And I think that that's what I really enjoy about this book, is that it leaves it open enough for interpretation to include your own things. Because we didn't do things by the book. Like, it was by the book, but it wasn't by the book, It was done in our own way. And yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to this, and I hope everyone is doing really well. I hope you're all doing good, and yeah, peace. Ciao.